So I had a very bizarre experience recently. The wife and kids were in California visiting family, and I stayed behind with Spiky the dog and decided to make a quick trip over to southwestern France. That's the coast of France that has all the surf. It was February, so the water temperature was between 52 and 54 degrees Fahrenheit, or 11 to 12 degrees centigrade. The air temp was in the low 60s or low 20s Celsius. The latitude is about the same as Oregon. I went to go surfing and to check out this little town called Mimizan Plage. I had my Southern California cold weather gear, which, in Southern California, you never need really more than a 3-2 full suit, and a booty that doesn't cover, a hoodie that doesn't cover your neck and booties. So that's what I was wearing. Anyway, the first day I went surfing, no problem. It's beautiful. There's no one out. The water temperature, it was just fine with the gear that I had, except when I went underwater, I got the ice cream headache. Then I went surfing the second day, and the last thing I remember was getting ready to duck dive as I was paddling out and a set was coming towards me. The next thing I remember was having lunch, or really finishing up lunch, with some friends who had come to visit me in Mimizan. I didn't notice that anything was wrong until they told me that I was repeating myself, that I was asking questions that I'd already asked. At first, I thought they were messing with me, and then I realized I couldn't remember what we'd had for lunch. And going back even further, I couldn't remember anything from the moment that I was paddling out and getting ready to duck dive. Needless to say, I was quite worried. My first thought is that maybe I had a mini stroke. Um, I also thought that perhaps there were first signs of dementia. And the third thought I had was maybe I got hit in the head, but I found that really unlikely since 50 years of surfing has made me very aware of protecting my head, and also I didn't feel any bumps or bruises around my head. The other thing that was really weird was that during that time I have no memory of, I was apparently fully functional. I got home, took a shower, took off my full suit and my booties and my hood and my hoodie, and and particularly with my booties, which are some new booties that are the hardest booties ever. It took me practically half an hour the day before to take those booties off, and I have no memory of it, but I was able to take that all off, hang it up in their proper places to dry, make sure I didn't track any sand into the hotel room, and texted my friends to rendezvous for our meeting. Completely functional. But I have absolutely no memory of it. In fact, the only slight vague, and I'm not even sure it really is a memory or it suggested itself into my memory, I have this sort of vague memory of getting out of the water and being confused as to the way back to the hotel. And I think apparently I figured that out. Needless to say, as soon as I could get in front of a computer, I started researching the symptoms of various, memory loss triggers. Additionally, my friend had called a doctor and gone through a number of symptoms. There were suggestions that I should have gone to an emergency room to have it checked out, but I knew that was going to be a huge and lengthy ordeal because there weren't any hospitals nearby. Probably the closest hospital was an hour or two away. Probably not the smartest thing for me to do, but I decided to just kind of monitor the situation. As for a mini stroke, I didn't have any of the other symptoms. There was no dizziness, no numbness or partial paralysis, no slurring of speech. Anyway, as I was researching it, I found something called transglobal amnesia, and one of the key triggers of it was cold water immersion. Some have even referred to it as cold water amnesia. Apparently, it most often affects people over the age of 50 and people who have had a history of migraines. I'm fall into the former category, not the latter. Anyway, reading from a Mayo Clinic description of the condition, it says the main symptom of transient global amnesia is being unable to create new memories and remember the recent past. Once that symptom is confirmed, ruling out other possible causes of amnesia is important. You must have these signs and symptoms to be diagnosed with transient global amnesia: sudden onset of confusion that includes memory loss seen by a witness, being awake and alert, and knowing who you are despite memory loss; normal cognition, such as the ability to recognize and name familiar objects and follow simple directions; no signs of damage to a particular area of the brain, such as being unable to move an arm or leg, movements you can't control, or problems understanding words. Another common sign of transient global amnesia, due to the inability to create new memories, includes repetitive questioning, usually of the same question. For example, what am I doing here, or how did we get here? The article concludes that transient global amnesia is not dangerous, except that it, to the extent that it can be confused with something more serious, so that it's important to go ahead and see a doctor as soon as possible anyway, even if that's what you think you have. Other things that can trigger this type of amnesia include, interestingly enough, sexual intercourse, pain, emotional or psychological stress, and several other things, quite frankly. Even now, a week or so later, the memories from that period have not returned. It remains a hole in my memory. But the fact that it happened at the moment that I went to duck dive and all that cold water rushed down the back of my neck through the gap between my hoodie and my wetsuit seems to me to make it a certainty that that's what it was. Anyway, keep surfing and stay warm.